We did Apple. We identified the managerial challenges and determined solutions for a more fortified company. In this paper, we discussed the diagnosis, solutions, actions, and evaluations. To begin our project, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started this company in 1976 in Jobs' parents' garage. Today, Apple is worth a staggering $498 billion. The purpose of this project was to evaluate the two most important issues and resolve them to increase the growth of Apple. The information implemented was derived from the internet and managerial analysts. Because this industry is so competitive, Apple must stay competitive to compete with its competitors.
So the first thing we did was our leaks was our major thing. So it's a problem because it voids any competitive advantage that Apple gains from its sales, its new developments and all that. Competitors can take those ideas, twist it into their own, and market it as such. The other main issue is it really taints their big reveals. The iPhone 7, the big thing was it was getting rid of the headphone jack, and everyone knew that before it was released, and really hurt their sales potentially.
Okay, so one of the main focuses for design is the iPhone because it evolved in its technology but not its design. And so basically the only thing that changed throughout the evolution of the iPhone was the size of it. Samsung, Apple's largest competitor, has many versions of smartphones, making them a threat to the Apple company. Okay, many critiques about Apple's iOS software involve the aesthetic of the skeuomorphic app faces, such as the Notes yellow legal pad, again being compared to Samsung's modern app faces designs. When iOS 6 was released, Apple was sued for $20 million after they failed to have licensing for their clock app, which ran from the Swiss railroad clock company. Not only does the design problem stem from looks, but also from a user's experience. Apple's frontal screen applications are easy to access, but simple settings not so much. Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi, and screen brightness require multiple clicks in multiple places just to access. This, along with many of the other issues I mentioned, were directed towards former design chief Scott Forstall, but have still not yet been fixed or recognized under the new chief's reign.
So Apple has 7 management issues within their company that are some of the biggest ones that they deal with. The first one is new design, and that is just they need to create a more design-friendly environment and let their development and design department work together. The second one is engineers. The engineers are the ones doing the majority of the work, and they're not getting credit for what they do. The third is software development. They develop very user-friendly software, but it's not always completely developed whenever it's released, so that makes it very hard to update, and it creates a lot of problems for the company. Another one is hype and speculation. It's really increased over the last couple of years, and with hype and speculation being increased, it kind of lets the customers down whenever they're expecting something that's not realistic. Another one is irreplaceable Steve Jobs. He was seen as irreplaceable, so the majority of the credit was credited to him for their success, and it wasn't given to the designers, the engineers, and the other employees of Apple, which were doing a lot of the work. Rivals and competition is starting to become a big problem for Apple. Their competition is becoming more advanced, so they didn't really have competition in the past, but they do now. And the last one is leaks, and employees are leaking information before it is released, so that kind of takes away their competitive advantage.
So for the solution for leaks, it was upon Steve Jobs' return from Pixar. He basically identified the issue and from there sent out an email kind of just to see what was happening, and he sent it out on a Thursday. That Monday they found that 4 people had sent it out to other people, and they were immediately terminated from Apple. So that was his solution for the issue. Something else that could have been done was implement a 3-strike system to lessen the blow of an immediate termination.
And as Matt previously mentioned, There are many problems with the leaking of important materials and information to the public and outside sources before they're actually released onto the market. And because of this, they need to halt this immediately, because if they don't, it will continue to spread and Apple will continue to lose the competitive advantage and profits. So some may ask, how can Apple even begin to contain a problem that is such a big problem within their company? And our solution, Apple must begin by implementing the organizational behavior modification. And this is a form of operant conditioning that promotes good and accepted behavior and terminates dysfunctional behavior. And within the steps of the organizational behavior modification, Apple should implement the 3-strike system, just as Matt has just mentioned. And this allows the employees to shape up their behavior instead of being terminated immediately. So for example, 3-strike system. The first problem would be loads of paperwork and a verbal reprimand. The second strike would be suspension and pay document. And if they're caught a third time, the third strike would be termination. So first, management must create a plan of how to handle this problem and analyze where the problem is coming from. Next, after the initial step of analyzing the problem, they must measure the frequency of how often this occurs within their company and how often it occurs when they release new products and how often it occurs when other people get a hold of this information. Next, after implementing this strategy upon them, managers will monitor the employees to see if this is an effective solution for what they have. They will continue to go through these steps within the organizational behavior modification to see if it actually shapes the behavior of the employees and it works within their company. With anything a company does, feedback and evaluation are two of the biggest things they must follow in order for the company to grow and become more successful in the market. There are several different options that a company could use when evaluating the 3-step process implemented in the action phase. First, the company must determine if the problem was correctly identified. That is, do they know exactly which employee did it, or rather are they blaming a group of employees and grouping them all together? Once the company has done this, they now know the grounds for the research and they are able to move on to the next phase. Next, the company should research how often the leaks occurred before the 3-strike process was implemented. For example, they could review how often other competitors came out with similar products before they released their own. Or they could even look at other magazines, articles, newspapers about the leaking of this information that the employees had given to them. This would not be a difficult evaluation for Apple because there are only several major newspapers, magazines, or several important articles, and they only have a limited amount of competitors. So if you can narrow it down to look at these competitors and articles, they will be in good shape. If Apple were to do this research of the competitors before and after enforcing the 3-strike policy, the company would be able to research this solution and see how well it worked.
And as a solution to Apple's design problems, as I mentioned before, Scott Forstall was let go from his position in 2003. Replacing him was British industrial engineer Sir Jonathan Ive. Ive overlooks the Apple Industrial Design Group and produces collaboration and leadership direction for human interface software teams. I've created a core team of those top 15 executives from around the world who are the only people besides himself to have access to his laboratory, which includes all of Apple's prototypes, concepts, and ideas. He took the criticism received by Forstall and made a point to work directly with those teams. One of his main updates is with Google Maps, which is improved accuracy released under Forstall. While the iPhone 7 lacked in many other design changes, the company has stated that it is waiting for available technology and that will hopefully be incorporated into its future products.
Okay, so for solving Apple's new design problem, here are some activities which can be implemented by Apple to generate new design ideas more efficiently. First, let the employees from technology and production department to work with the design teams. Based on the research, Apple's design teams are totally separated from the larger company. They do their design works individually without any connections with other departments. So every time after the new design ideas are confirmed and put into production, there are always some technological problems occurred due to the non-applicable design. And then the production department will send feedback to the design teams. This whole process which makes the design work really low efficient. So if Apple can let the employees from technology and production department work with the design groups, the work efficiency will be improved. Second, hold competitions between design teams. The lack of motivation is what Apple's employees are facing. Employees lose their passion on their job easily when following their daily schedule and routine. Motivation is needed for employees, especially for designers to be energetic to generate new inspirations. Third, cooperate with other brands. Cooperation is what Apple is trying to do now. For example, the Apple Watch. Apple and French fashion house Hermes announced a new expanded lineup of Apple Watch for the spring and April 2016. This design cooperation expanded Apple's market into fashion area and the profits were raised. This indicates that there are large potential new designs can be used for Apple products by cooperating with other brands. This method can help Apple build more competitive advantages. To properly evaluate the potential solutions and actions presented, it is important to establish indicators. The measures Apple will use to assess the action plan would be conduct a performance appraisal, cast a vote through social media, and count of item pre-orders. As we learned in Chapter 12, performance appraisal is the evaluation of employees' job performance and contributions to the organization. By doing performance appraisal monthly, the executive team can identify the strengths and weaknesses of their employees, and the designers can identify what they need to improve and make plans for their future by receiving the feedbacks from the officer. After combining the employees from the product design department and the production department, it is necessary to identify if their work efficiency is improving or not. So, performance appraisal can help evaluate each design team's work efficiency and quality, which is a really good method. Second, the design work should be based on the popular fashion trends followed by the majority of people. So it is important to know what type of design can suit most customers' needs. Apple can cast a vote through social media like Facebook or Twitter to identify customers' needs before making decisions. For example, if Apple is considering cooperating with other brands like Hermes, Gucci, Adidas, or Nike, Apple can simply cast a vote online, and based on the results, we figure out which brand is the most popular one and choose the most profitable to cooperate. Meanwhile, Apple is always using the pre-order policy. The pre-order quantity can be easily calculated and compared with Apple's previous database through a computer system. If the new upcoming product's pre-order quality is lower than last year's, there might be some potential problem exist. So by counting how many products are pre-ordered, Apple can figure out if the new products they will release suits most customers' needs.
Although Apple is one of the top brands in the world, they face two major managerial issues: leaks and new design. Employees leak information, causing Apple to lose their competitive edge. They can fix this problem by implementing the 3-strike process. The second is new designs. Apple's competitors are stealing their design ideas, which doesn't make them stand out to their competition. This can be corrected by casting votes through social media or coordinating with other brands.
Thank you.